What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another adventure here at the Outpost. In today's adventure, we are going to be counting down the top 20 movies that are turning 20 from that illustrious year 2001. Although, illustrious in movies, not in real life. But before we begin, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, comment down below what you think your favorite movies from 2001 were, and let's get on to the list. Kicking off the list at number 20 is the romantic comedy Legally Blonde. This is a really fun movie. Heather loves this movie. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so we had watched it recently, and it holds up. It is very well written and exactly knows what it's supposed to be. This is a top-notch comedy about Reese Witherspoon, who is a California blonde that her boyfriend thinks is a dumb shit, and he breaks up with her. So she decides to get her way into law school and become a kick-ass lawyer and show him what he's missing out on. It's a really good movie. A lot of funny bits. I like this movie a lot. You should definitely check it out if you're a fan of rom-coms, or Reese Witherspoon, or Luke Wilson. A lot of people in that movie. Number 19 is a movie that still to this day blows my mind that we're about to get number 9, and that is The Fast and the Furious. Who would have ever known that when this movie broke on the scene about a group of street racers that steal old Panasonic DVD players and crappy TVs and all that it would grow into the absolute juggernaut that it is today. It is insane how with the right writer and the right story and the right bits and pieces, you can turn anything into a global juggernaut. This and, Fast and the Furious definitely attests to that. Like, look at how young they are in that. It's hilarious. This is one of the better ones. I enjoy this first one. It's a very good action movie. I liked it a lot. I like it a hell of a lot more than most of the other Fast and the Furious movies, with the exception of maybe like 2 of them. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see next week before Fast 9 comes out when I rank all of the Fast and Furious movies. Number 18 is the crime thriller starring all the Elvises of the years, 3,000 Miles to Graceland. This is a really silly but highly entertaining action movie starring 2 of my favorite actors of all time, Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner. And they play a group of con men that do heists and stuff, and they decide to dress up as Elvises during International Elvis Week in Las Vegas and rob a casino. And then it follows all of the double-crossing and backstabbing and cop hunting and everything that you would expect from a great thriller as they try to get away with their crime. Super entertaining. I mean, it's got Kevin Costner and Kurt Russell, so right there, you can't go wrong. So you should check that one out. Number 17 is the Academy Award-winning movie Training Day. This is another crime thriller that instead of following the bad guys, we're following the good guys. Well, one good guy and Denzel Washington. This movie won Denzel Washington an Academy Award for Best Acting, and it shows because he is the best part about this movie. I loved this movie when I was younger, and then I just watched it recently, and it's still good. It's just not as well written as I thought it was back in the day. I used to think this movie was like perfect, but watching it now, like, it's good, but it really is carried by Denzel Washington's performance. Without him and without Ethan Hawke, this movie would not nearly be as good as it is. This is a definite case of the actors elevating the art. Which isn't to say it's horribly written. It's done by David Ayer, which makes sense because he is very hit or miss, and he writes the type of movies that, while may not be amazingly written, he writes great characters, and that helps elevate the material when actors are given good stuff to play off of. and he definitely does that in most of his movies. And it's directed by Antoine Fuqua, who is the man. I have liked pretty much every movie of his I've seen, except for his new one, Infinite, on Paramount Plus. That movie is fucking garbage. Number 16 is the first in a series of movies that became one of the biggest franchises of all time, getting itself a theme park area in the process. It's gotten so much shit, and that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I like the first movie. It's very well made, and for a fantasy film, it really is like the perfect opening to this incredible world. The worst part is that the kids are just so young, so it's like it feels more campy than the other ones do, just because it can't go into the deeper themes and darker themes that the later series would touch on. It's very much this like really kid-friendly experience, which isn't to say it's a bad thing. It's just when you look at the ones that came later, you can see how lighter and airier this one is. But that's not to say it's a bad movie. It is a really entertaining movie. It kick-started this insanely huge global phenomenon. I mean, the books were already huge, but the movies, I feel like, helped take that whole series to another level where it's like this mythic thing now. You can't go anywhere without a person around my age that has a Harry Potter tattoo. I do not have one. I am not the biggest Harry Potter fan, so that is one franchise I won't be tattooing on this body. But I can see why it would affect people to the way that they would. It is a very entertaining franchise. Number 15 is one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies, and that is Blow. This is a really good crime movie. It follows Johnny Depp as George Hung, who became the largest importer of Colombian cocaine to the United States. He pretty much changed the face of drugs in America. It's set in like the 70s and 80s, so it has a great soundtrack. It's super entertaining. It's one of those movies that even though it deals with such dark subject matter, it's really breezy, where it just flows from scene to scene, so the movie never like drags. It's a very entertaining movie. Johnny Depp, this is when he was really at the top of his game. As much I love Pirates of the Caribbean, is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and he is incredible in the movies. The one downside, I think, to him being in that franchise, though, is that it elevated him to that mega stardom where we don't really see him too much in these weird, quirky movies anymore. So that's a shame, but we still have these old ones to go back to, and he is phenomenal in this movie. Penelope Cruz is also really good in it. So is Ray Liotta's in it. He's really good. Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens is in it. So it has an interesting cast in it. This is a really good movie. Number 14, and the only movie I don't own in my collection, is Osmosis Jones. This is a really fun animated / live action movie. It is so bizarre and out there. It cracks me up that a movie like this even got made. I don't know how it's eluded my collection for so long. I love this movie, but for some reason I've just never owned it, not even on like DVD, Blu-ray, in any shape or form. I've never owned this movie. And I need to rectify this in some way, because I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I used to watch it all the time in high school. They showed it to us in biology class. And I had been hooked on it ever since. It's such a funny movie about just like your body and everything that goes on in your body to help fight off infections and keep you healthy. It's such an interesting and silly idea. It's great, and it's got a star-studded cast. It's Bill Murray in one of the live-action roles. Chris Rock. It's a really it was a movie that felt very ahead of its time. Even today, it feels very funny that it was ever a movie, or a movie that did well too. It's a great one, and you should check it out if you haven't. I sure as shit will be ordering it as soon as I finish this video. Number 13 is the over-the-top hilarious comedy Wet Hot American Summer. This is one of the silliest movies I've ever seen in my life. I didn't see it when it first came out. I didn't see it until much later in life. I think I watched it, and then literally a few months later, they announced that they were doing the TV show. So that gives you some idea about how long it's been since it came out that I saw it. But it's stupid funny. It's such a cast of characters from before they got big, like Paul Rudd, Christopher Maloney, Bradley Cooper, Amy Poehler. There's so many people in this movie that would go on to do huge things. Elizabeth Banks, like just looking at this like cast on here, it's insane how many people were in it. And it's such a funny send up of camp movies. It's so dumb and fun. I can't say enough good things about this movie, and I can't even really explain anything in it because it's all just so bizarre. Like, the best thing I could say is that if you're in the mood to laugh and you love dumb, silly comedy, this is a movie you should check out because it is fucking hilarious. Number 12 is the biopic Ali. This is a really, really good boxing movie, good sports movie, biopic, whatever you want to call it. This is a really good movie. It's one of Will Smith's best performances. He really dives in to the role of Muhammad Ali and really shines. It's a really good just story about Muhammad Ali. One of the last good Michael Mann movies. I'm trying to see who wrote it. A bunch of people, actually. 4 people. It's never really a good sign when you see it took 4 people to write a movie. But when I see that one of those screenwriters is Eric Roth, I know that we're still in good company because that man is one of the greatest screenwriters around. So if you haven't seen Ali and you like sports movies, you like Muhammad Ali, you have to check this movie out. Just missing out on the top 10 is the Ron Howard drama. I believe this was the Best Picture winner for 2001 as well, and it is A Beautiful Mind. This is a really good drama. Oh, and she's gone. This is a really good drama. Russell Crowe is phenomenal in it, and he is a brilliant mathematician who, on the brink of international acclaim, becomes entangled in a mysterious conspiracy. It is really entertaining. I don't want to say any more than that. It's a movie you should definitely check out. I mean, it won Best Picture, for God's sake, so that must be good, right? Not always. But in this case, it is. This is a really good movie, so you should definitely watch this. Kicking off the top 10 is the World War II movie, Enemy at the Gates. This is a really awesome war movie about 2 snipers that are facing off against each other during the war, and their deadly game of cat and mouse that ensues while they're trying to kill the other. It is freaking awesome. I saw it for the first time in high school. We had a 20th century literature class where it looked through life in film-wise. I don't know why I said literature, because it wasn't literature. It was 20th century history in film. There we go. Now you're smart. You're back. And this was one of the movies we watched when we were covering World War II. This movie is phenomenal. Watch it. Number 9 is the first Christopher Nolan movie I've ever seen, and it's gotten me hooked on him ever since, and that is Memento. This is an awesome mystery movie. It will confuse the shit out of you. You will have to watch this multiple times. Oh, hello, welcome back. This will take multiple views to get a firm grasp on it. But it is an amazing movie. It is about a man with amnesia who is trying to retrace his steps to find out who killed his family. The movie takes place in reverse and forward chronologically. It is a mindfuck of a movie, and you should definitely check it out if you like Christopher Nolan's other movies, and if you like movies that fuck with your head. Everybody's favorite animated classic pops up here at number 8, and that is Shrek. This is one of the greatest animated films ever made. DreamWorks really knocked it out of the park with this one. It is hilariously silly. It is such a great send-up of fairy tales, and it is written by 2 of my favorite writers, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who would go on to do Pirates of the Caribbean. So it is no surprise that this movie holds up to not only a great send up of fairy tales, but also a great action adventure film. This is just a really fun movie. Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, John Lithgow, everybody knocks it out of the park in this film. It would have been interesting to live in an alternate Earth where Chris Farley never died, and we got the Shrek version with Chris Farley. That would have been interesting to see, but but Mike Myers does just as good a job bringing this character to life, and it feels so quintessentially him that you can't even think of like how Chris Farley would have done it. So to the TJ that's living in the alternate world that got to see that, I hope you enjoyed it, man. Number 7 is the sequel to the action comedy classic, and that is Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 2 is my favorite of the 3 movies. It hits all the beats perfectly. That just expands on the connection that the 2 of these characters have, and it really dials it up with a much zanier story, sending them now to Jackie's home country where they get into a lot of shenanigans. It is a very fun movie that just expands on everything the first one did good and makes it so much better. It is the quintessential movie for the Rush Hour movies. And Chris Tucker's never been funnier. Jackie Chan is at his butt-kicking best. He is seriously one of the best action comedy maestros around, and I can't recommend that movie enough. All 3 of those movies, even though the 3rd one is the weakest of the bunch, their camaraderie is just so good that it makes the movie easy to watch. Number 6 is the comedy cult classic Zoolander. This is one of the funniest comedies I've ever seen in my life, and coincidentally the second one is one of the worst comedies I've ever seen in my life. But that doesn't take away from just how incredible this film is. Me and my friends quoted this movie way more than we ever should have. I've gotten detention because of quoting this movie in class. This movie was our life as we were kids. It is such a funny send-up of fashion culture and modeling. Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson are great as male models. There's just so many funny people in this movie, so many funny cameos. Billy Zane comes to mind, David Duchovny. This is such a funny movie. Ben Stiller really knocked it out of the park, writing, directing, and acting in this. You should definitely check this out if for some way you have made it to this day and age and you haven't seen Zoolander. Number 5 is another action-adventure classic, this one with a little bit of a fantasy tinge to it. It would be my favorite Heath Ledger movie if it wasn't for The Dark Knight, and that is A Knight's Tale. This movie is freaking incredible. It is such a fun, breezy movie about knights that also has some of the best usage of anachronistic music. This movie knows what it is, wants you to have fun. You're going to have fun with it. It's written by Brian Helgeland, who did 42. I believe he wrote LA Confidential. He's a really good writer. In this one, he wrote and directed, and he really knocked it out of the park with this one. There's so many good actors. Heath Ledger, Paul Bettany before he became Vision, Mark Addy before he became the king of whatever the hell that place is in Game of Thrones. It's funny how quickly you forget something when you grow to hate it. Rufus Sewell is in it. There's just this great collection of actors in this movie. It is a fun movie. It is breezy. You will have a good time. It's a great movie where you don't have to think too much. You just sit back and you enjoy yourself. So you should definitely check out A Knight's Tale if you haven't seen it. Number 4 is the heist comedy, and quite possibly the best collection of actors ever assembled to film, and that is the first Ocean's 11. This movie is, if you want to talk about light, breezy, fun movies, this movie is the funnest time you can have at the theater. It is so easily rewatchable. You just kick back, throw it on, and just ride through the day. It is such a good movie. Steven Soderbergh is a great director. He really cemented himself with this movie. The cast of actors is great. George Clooney, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, Andy Garcia, Julia Roberts, Casey Affleck, Scott Conn, Bernie Mac. There's just so many people in this movie, and everyone is cast to perfection. It is such a fun movie, and you should check it out if you haven't, because it is such an easy watch. It's one of those movies that you could watch all the way through. It ends, you put right back on, and you can enjoy it immediately again as if you just watched it for the first time. Number 3 is the Pixar animated classic Monsters, Inc. This is one of my favorite Pixar movies. This is one of Pixar's funnest movies. It is a movie that I desperately want a sequel to. I know we got the prequel, which I actually liked a lot as well. I thought it was a lot of fun. But I would love to see a sequel where Boo is grown up and has to be reintroduced to these characters. So Pixar, you've done a lot of sequels. We had 2 Cars sequels. Give us a Monsters, Inc. sequel. Because this movie is amazing. And everyone in my generation who grew up on this movie would kill for a sequel. Number 2 is the war film Black Hawk Down. This is an incredible movie. One of my best friend's best favorite movies. He'd kill me knowing this was at number 2. But it is. It's a freaking phenomenal movie from Ridley Scott, and a long line of phenomenal movies from Ridley Scott. And it is about soldiers who were sent to Somalia on a critical mission to capture a violent warlord, and shit goes horribly wrong. It is really freaking good. You should watch it if you haven't, if you like war movies. This has another one with a wide collection of actors. Orlando Bloom, Josh Hartnett, Ewan McGregor, Tom Sizemore, Eric Bana, William Fichtner. There's just so many people in this movie, and it is freaking phenomenal. And number 1, for anyone who remembers all the movies that have come out in 2001, it should come as no surprise what hits number 1 for me here, and that is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Another movie much like Harry Potter that started off an incredible franchise. This, though, is a million times better than Harry Potter, and it is one of the most perfect trilogies that has ever been put to film. I have the wonderful 4K version here, but I still hung on to my original DVD extended edition of simply just The Fellowship of the Ring. These are some of my favorite movies of all time. The extended editions are absolutely insane. So I would recommend, if you've seen The Lord of the Rings before, give it another watch on the extended edition. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, you're out of your mind. Even Ahsoka has seen Lord of the Rings multiple times. Look at how excited she gets about it. So go watch Lord of the Rings. And that's my list. 2001 was actually a pretty incredible years for movies. Those a lot of really good movies. A lot of really good movies that have stood the test of time and have become absolute cinema classics these days. You know, Lord of the Rings, Black Hawk Down, Monsters, Inc., Shrek, Legally Blonde, Harry Potter. There's just every movie on there has in some way, shape, or form become a classic in their own right. It's insane just how many good movies were from 2001. I want to do another one, although I think it would be harder. You know, we did the 10 for 10, 20 for 20. It'd be nice to do a 30 for 30, but I don't know if there were 30 amazing movies from the year 1991. So we'll see. If there is, I'm going to drop it. If there's not, I might drop it anyway and just highlight 30 movies from that year that maybe even if they weren't like the best or even stood the test of time, maybe they're ones that slipped through the cracks that we should have seen. Who knows? We'll find out. I'm going to take a look. But for now, appreciate as always you guys watching. If you've stuck around this long, here is your free digital code for this week, and it is for the movie that has dropped today as of making this video, Godzilla vs. Kong. So there's your code right there. Have at it. Whoever's the first one, remember to write down in the comments that you got it so everyone else knows that they snoozed and losed. And until next time, adventure on.